You spend 12 months building it, 3 days living it, and 5 minutes watching it completely disappear. The content, the speakers, the moments, gone. Like the buffet at 2 p.m. on day three. The events industry is the most powerful content machine in the world, and nobody knows what to do after the show ends. But our guest this week does. She doesn't drop the mic, she deposits it. It's Event About It with Beth Nydick. Hey everybody, welcome to Event About It. I'm your host, Megan Martin. Our guest this week is a former TV producer turned media strategist who figured out that the green room is great, but the bank account is better. She spent years in NBC, MTV, and VH1 learning how to make moments matter, and now she teaches entrepreneurs, speakers, and leaders how to turn 1 hour on a mic into a pipeline that actually pays. She's got Jersey energy and a matcha in hand and a very strong opinion about what happens to your event content after the doors close. Welcome to the studio, Beth. So glad to have you here.
Oh my God, this is going to be so much fun.
It's a lot of fun. Our prep call was incredible. So many things we're going to talk about. A fellow Bravo gal. We're
Oh,
going
yeah.
to talk all those things. But before we get into some fun games, you worked at MTV when TRL was launching.
Yeah.
I'm showing my age here in that I would run home from school to watch TRL in those days. I was obsessed. So tell us some maybe behind the scenes things about MTV that like no one knows, or TRL specifically.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that people don't understand is that kids, 15 to 25-year-olds would go on and be terrified and question themselves and not know what they were going to talk about and not know who they are. And like, please just let me sing. Don't make me talk to you was like a big conversation. And they would come out and, cry, break down, hide in the bathroom. I think people feel like celebrities are always polished, but they're really just
Yeah.
people. And a lot of them have been sheltered from the real world because they've been celebrities since they were little. So thinking about how they get up and do things every day. And I think about it on a larger scale, like celebrities are celebrities because they push themselves beyond the norm in
Yeah.
acting, in singing, and whatever their artistry is. It's not always about the basic talent because they do have that. There's an X factor to them, but it's then getting themselves to step foot on that kind of stage. Going on live TV happens to be my favorite, but it's not everybody's.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and I think you distinguish that they have the X factor. Like there's a ton of people with a lot of talent
No,
that just never really put themselves out there. And so I think that's a great reminder. And thinking about those live TV days, I mean, I certainly could not do it. It's why I talk all the time about why I like conferences because I have like 3 or 4 days to get it right. We could completely shit the bed on the first day, but then as long as we're ending strong, most people won't completely remember what happened on day one if we finish. So I like having the runway to figure it
yeah.
out for a few days. But when we think about live TV, I mean, that's a daily live event.
Oh, yeah.
So looking back, do you think that's where your obsession with turning moments into something bigger kind of started?
Oh, definitely. Definitely my time at the Tonight Show. I was lucky enough to really interact with a lot of the celebrities and get to talk to them before and after they went on set. And a lot of my focus of conversation was bigger than, this is one of 15 interviews and what actually stands out for you? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose of doing it? And I really learned through talking not so much to them, but to their publicists and to their
Yeah.
managers of what they were trying to create about it. And then when I came into digital, I first was in the food sector. I was a food blogger and then I was a TV food expert, but really understanding that there had to be an end game. And we see that now. Food bloggers now have pots and pans and baking trays, right? And all the and spices and all the different things that go with it, because it's not just about who you are and what you have to say. It's who you are, what you have to say in the community and the culture you're creating around your brand.
Yeah, I think there's a few just in the food space and home decor space that comes to mind. I think about Magnolia Network and Chip and Joanna Gaines, they've built this like empire off of like one little TV show, or like the Pioneer Woman who now has all these collabs in the food space off of starting as a food blogger.
Yeah, I think people look at Chip and Joanne and was like, oh, they must have had, they have that connection. They spark on TV. He's a dumbass and she puts up with it, right? And what was that conversation like? If they didn't have that personality that really created something you can't look away from, train wreck, right?
Yeah.
And they then found people to support them that could get them to the next level. Chip and Joanna are not media moguls. They don't understand media. Now they do. Back then they didn't. But
Sure.
having the right people to support you that have that information, that's why people work with me. They're like, you've been in TV and media for 25 years. You come with a wealth of knowledge that I can't possibly create. So that working with me gets them to the next level. But I've seen interviews with Joanna. There was no second thing. They just needed to make money.
Yeah.
Like that's really why they started it. And somebody found them. It wasn't like she was pitching. It wasn't that kind of a thing. It was also probably more than 15 years ago now that they started. And now it's a different story. Hollywood's different, celebrities different, influencers are different. And it is not only about having your own community and culture, but having a team behind you to help you get to the book deal, the stage, the conference, whatever that thing is that you actually want.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's a great segue into our game. And you've spent years in a room where somebody had to decide what made the air and what got cut, what was maybe worth the budget and what nobody should ever see. So we're going to call this game the Upfronts. For anybody who doesn't know, the Upfronts when a TV networks pitch their season lineup for media buyers and advertisers. It's essentially a boardroom full of people deciding what lives and what dies, like from a single episode. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yes. I used to go to the Upfronts at Madison Square Garden.
Oh my gosh, I'm jealous. Love it.
The collateral was the best part, but it was really fun.
It's amazing. So here's how the upfront game on Event About It is going to work.
Okay.
I'm going to pitch you a real event content strategy, like I'm getting ready for my fall lineup, and you're the room and you have to decide on a verdict. So does it get picked up? Is it a limited series, or cancel it? Don't even think about this idea. Okay, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. A 3-day conference with 8 main stage speakers. 0 speaker briefings on how to amplify it, no agreements. You just know you're going to do a 3-day conference with 8 main stage speakers.
That's a no-go.
Not doing it.
Not happening. Not worth my time.
A trade show booth with a live demo running on loop, not capturing reactions, and we're not really interviewing any of the attendees, just a demo on loop.
They shouldn't even be in the room.
What would you have them do different?
Well, I don't think doing any live demo on loop is a good idea, right? I think not connecting with the people. I've been to those trade shows, right? Not connecting with the people walking by. You've been there too. Anyone who's been at any kind of show and the person who is standing behind their booth not standing, I take that back, sitting behind their booth in their chair, not looking up, there's no wonder they have no sales.
Yeah, agreed. Next one, a keynote speaker with 200,000 followers who mentions the event one time in their stories the morning of the talk.
Well, we don't want to book them again. But it's workable, right? Because they do come with an audience. We can maybe have some conversations about what the actual strategy would be to help progress their goals by using our platform to be on and be in the audience to be in front of.
Yeah, I think that's great. So limited series there.
Yes.
A post-event recap email with highlights, 3 quotes, and a link to a slide deck.
I want to say limited series, but I feel like it depends on the content.
What kind of content would make it get picked up?
I like the quote idea. I like the recap. It depends how it's being positioned. If it's being positioned as, I was so honored to be in this room, then it's a no-go, right? But sending me a pitch deck rather than sending me either book a call, a personalized video, it depends what you're pitching, right? If you're pitching a product, I would love a hey babe video. I'm from Jersey. I say babe a lot, but not everybody does, right? The tactic of spray and pray doesn't work, and especially in media.
Yeah, agreed. Doesn't work in events or sales either.
Yeah.
Okay, couple more. A live panel recorded in full and then chopped up into 15 social clips and distributed across platforms the week after the event.
How long are the clips?
Let's say up to 60 seconds.
I love that. We could go for that.
Okay. An annual flagship conference that produces a sizzle reel every year, but it's the same format, the same music with a different logo.
No, they're not being innovative. Their audience can feel the innovation is not there, the change is not there. I feel like for that, if you are doing the same thing over and over again and it's working, there's a difference between using media. Marketing that's working over and over again works, but media, which a sizzle reel is media, not the same thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. I was just thinking about that with the same logo of obviously being in events. I go to a lot of industry events and there's some iconic imagery from certain cities. And I went to this city last year for a conference and a different organization is going there this year. And it might have been the same logo. Like for a second, I had to do a double take of like, wait, which show is actually going to this city? Because the logo looks the same.
That's not good.
No, not good. Okay, an event with a dedicated hashtag that the organizer sometimes monitors but never really engages with.
Nope. That's a base level. I don't understand going to events where that's not happening, where there's no push for social, where there's no push for posting and tagging. It's a wasted opportunity. And if your mindset is going to be a wasted opportunity, there's got to be more things that are falling through the cracks. So
I completely agree. Yeah. Do you think someone on site should have like a dedicated person monitoring social throughout the event?
100%. Posting behind the scenes, interviewing. I don't think it's just monitoring the people in the room because they need to be prompted. Thank you. Prompted to actually engage. We're such social media people, but I find at a lot of these large scale events, people they're in the moment. So we're getting them to remember and having a purpose behind the posting, not just post to share us. I think it makes a big difference.
No, we see that all the time in the events world for sure. Okay, last one. An event that sends every speaker a custom media kit at least 30 days before the show with suggested copy, assets, and a week-by-week amplification timeline.
Oh, I just got the chills. You're speaking my language. Of course. Let's book that one now.
Is that sort of what you think a best practice for speakers at conferences should be? Like really have to enable your speakers to do kind of what you want them to do?
Yeah, it's a little spoon feedy, right? But they're busy in what they do. But I think it even goes further back to that. Like I want my speakers to talk about it when it gets booked, right? So it's something that they're continually talking about. I would love more speakers to like continually telling me what's coming up versus what's happening. And I think going back a little bit further and having that be a part of the agreement and having them be in on the amplification of the event and what the practice is after the event is an add-on to that conversation as well. But if you're so prepped ahead, I'm sure you're going to be prepped in the backside too.
Yeah, agreed. I do think the after side gets a little bit lost sometimes too. And
yeah.
We want them to post in the moment. And it's very hard to get people to post in the moment because they're in the moment. Unless they have a team really supporting them do that, it gets pretty tricky. And I think the afterwards gets a lot of loss. Like help us drive attendance, leverage your speakers to get people in the room. And then once it's over, it's like, now what do you want me to do? Like it almost feels a little used and abused almost with these speakers.
Yeah, when the focus is really like why are you not leveraging this experience to get more experiences or to get more stages, right? You've gotten this stage. Does it go in your sizzle reel? Maybe, but why are you not consistently talking about the stages you're on so that you can get more stages, so that bookers can go to your social and be like, oh, they're here. Why are we not having them on our stage? Versus the content you might be putting out to get clients.
Totally agree. Well, this feels like a great time to talk about my favorite segment, and that is the vent of the week. And this is where we stop being professional for about 5 minutes and name the thing that is making this industry harder than it needs to be. So you can let it out, no filter, no sugarcoating, let the jersey out. You have spoken at a lot of events. You've watched event organizers leave money on the table with their content. Opportunities are left. So tell us, what is something happening in events right now that just makes you want to throw the media brief out the window?
I think the biggest thing that I see is that there's no media nod to what you're doing. I think they're really focused on social media and not the larger conversation within their community. If you have a community and a conference is a community of people coming together and you are not focused on the culture and how you're placing it in their everyday life, how it's being placed, the conversation you're creating is in the culture of their community, of the larger community it's set, you're missing out. So many people who do conferences aren't inviting their local news in the room. Why the F not? Right? Why are you only on social and you're so focused on just selling tickets versus making your event the event to be in? And how do you make a differentiation between that? You actually use media. So stop going on every podcast and every stage talking about your thing that's coming up and talking about the thing they need to be a part of and how we use media for that. The conversation isn't, I have a conference coming up, is the room you need to be in is. It's a big difference. And I going back to like my larger conversation is how Hollywood A-listers and even B- listers are being on stages, right? They're on the panels. They're the keynote, Bozeman from Housewives of Beverly Hills is keynoting everywhere. She's using the media, the people who follow Housewives, and I mean the outlets that use Housewives, she uses them to forward her personal brand, but she's not using them to forward her business brand and the business of being on stages, right? If you go to her social, I bet there's not a lot of the stages that she's on. Or it's on, right? It might be in her reels somewhere, but this is a piece of the longevity of your brand and you're not using it. So I think anyone who's on stage is also a celebrity, and how they're not using it in their business is they're just keeping it contained to the experience and not keeping it a part of their larger business culture so that people can see them a certain way. I think that what's happening now in media as well is like your local media is that you can now buy a commercial segment. You can buy a segment on some local TV because the ad dollars have dried up on local TV, that you can now go and buy yourself a segment and it's positioned as lifestyle or part of what's going on in New York City. There's a company called Camp Social.
Okay.
They do in-person summer events at camps in the Northeast.
Okay.
I believe. If I'm wrong in the details, I apologize. They got an investor. They were on every major New York station and other market stations because they bought in, from my belief. Because TV stations don't do commercials. But I'm seeing more and more of that like commercial segment happening.
Sure.
So there's something different happening there. But they're selling tickets by going on local TV. Yes, New York's a big market, but they're going on TV talking about what they're doing to bring people in. There's another company that's called, and I apologize if I got the name wrong, it's like Mother Something. They were doing a big event in New York City at the Piers. They also were on Fox 5 talking about the event. They talked a little bit about, it was about motherhood and women and that kind of thing.
Sure.
And so Camp Social did too. But the call to action was come to my event, which is something that's new. I haven't seen that before. It's been buy my book, watch my TV show. But now coming to my event is a call to action on a lot of local TV stations, and not using media to do that for your brand, not just for the tickets, but for the brand, I think is a huge miss.
Yeah, I think there's a lot for that even in B2B, even if you have a global brand and let's say you're going to San Francisco or one of the big markets here, there's still opportunities there. I mean, there's so much local, especially if you're thinking like a technology brand and you're in a huge market. that costs a lot less than LinkedIn ads are super expensive now. Like, and social media is changing. Like I was reading with JV the other day, like social media is dead. It's all algorithm based now. So you don't even really see, like, there's people I follow that I never see their posts and they're like, I post every single day because the algorithm doesn't feed them to me anymore. So I think we sometimes have to go back to our basics and media gets lost. And I think the biggest thing you said that I really want event people to take away is the talk of community and what you're actually buying a ticket for. You're buying into a community and experience and why you should be in that room and not just come and have a good time and there's going to be parties and education, but like what you're actually going to experience and why you're coming to that show gets a little bit lost when we're trying to sell, registrations.
Totally. I saw something actually today that was about community and how 63%, again, if I get the numbers wrong, of Gen Zers don't just want to be a part of the community. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, and they want to feel connected. So if you're creating a room that's about just come and be in it versus your people are here, you're going to feel connected. You're going to leave inspired. Everyone can say that, right? But what's underneath that? When I work with clients and they give me that very empowered, inspired, I'm like, okay, let's go 7 layers deep. What is really underneath that? What do they actually need to feel? What do they actually need to see? And why are you not talking about that in the media versus come be in the room?
Maybe that's what Amanda Francis is missing on Housewives and why they keep giving her so much crap about her courses, because she hasn't told them like what people walk away with when they're, feeling part of her community that she built.
You're completely right. We should go tell her.
We should probably tell her. I think she's been told enough at this point. Okay, well, next up, let's event about it. This is the part of the show where you get to spill the tea on a memorable event moment, whether it was a huge success, a total disaster, or simply just pure chaos. We want to hear about it. You've been to a lot of events, have been around a lot of A-list celebrities, so give us some juicy tea.
I have 2. So the first one is actually about a stage that I was on. I was in Florida. It was a podcast conference. And I had a nice size room. People are filing in. I'm trying to get my computer to sync up to everything, and the computer won't sync. And then as we're getting started, the person in the room, supporting me tells me the camera's gone. Somebody had stolen the camera in between my talk and the talk before me. So now there's no video. I'm scrambling because my computer won't connect, and also the audio's not working.
Oh, Lord.
So I haven't changed my shoes. I haven't put my jacket on. I'm in the video, I'm literally wearing a tank top and a skirt and sneakers. And I start the conversation because we're 5 minutes into when I was supposed to start, and it's standing room only. I literally stand in the middle of the room, and I'm pretty loud, but I'm also only 5'1", so I'm not a big person. And I start, screaming, welcome, so glad you're here. Raise your hand if you're from New Jersey. So like 4 or 5 people raise their hand, and I make one of them stand up and stand next to me. And I go, okay, this is your charge for the day. You have to tell everybody around you that I don't speak fast. I'm just from Jersey. The whole room laughs. 10 minutes. And then I start my talk, and I start my talk by interacting with the people who are in the room.
But no microphone. It's not being recorded. You're still in your prep clothes.
I'm literally in a pink skirt and a black tank top. 15 minutes in, the mic goes on.
Oh, Lord.
So, and I do have some video because people in the room took a little bit of video, they were just doing social media stuff and sent it to me. 45 minutes later, standing ovation. I have no evidence. And I've never cried so hard after any talk I've ever gave because the adrenaline was just so much.
For sure.
This was 3 years ago. Now I'm proud of myself that I got myself together. But in the moment, that was I am never coming back here. And one of the only reasons I had went was because I wanted the video of myself on stage.
Oh, and so you didn't even get the one thing. Oh,
no, and I paid for it too. I got a refund, obviously.
Well, if they stole the camera, I would hope so.
But that was a really bad one.
Well, did they ever find the person who stole all the equipment? Oh, that's
I don't know.
awful.
I don't know. I never followed up. I never really heard anything after that. I think they had a picture of his back at the hotel because they had some security footage. But yeah, right before I went on.
I mean, I know a lot of speakers who would have crumbled and had never be able to recover. So congratulations to you for being able to power through that. I mean, looking back now, the fact that you can kind of laugh about it and have a very proud moment, but I'm sure in the moment of all of that happening, I don't know that I would have been so composed.
Oh, honestly, I was an actress growing up and the show must go on. There wasn't an alternative.
Yeah.
I had no voice afterwards. But my thought process was get the audience, make sure, because 5 more minutes, they probably would have started leaving.
Yeah.
And I was like, we are not losing this room. It was one of the biggest rooms I had been in a long time. Lining the walls kind of room. And I was really happy about that fact. And it was all about like how to make money from podcast guesting, not just podcasting.
Yeah.
One of my favorite stories is when I worked at the Tonight Show. And at one time, one of the green rooms, the bathroom wasn't working. So I walked this celebrity to the bathroom and walked her back to her studio, to the room. And we're talking about life and business. And, I wanted to be a producer and we were talking all about it. But all I could think about in my head, because she was holding my hand, was if she washed her hands after she went to the bathroom. Because I have a little like COVID with all my hand washing. That was like the best thing that ever happened to me. Because I'm a little OCD in that way. But,
got it.
Again, it was another realization in my early 20s that people are people. Everyone's a mess. And no one's sure of themselves. And we're all sure everyone else is thinking about us.
I mean, right. That celebrity is probably like, oh, she's so interested in me. And they were probably so happy and like trying to engage with you. And if there was like a thought bubble, I just think of like the VH1 like pop-up videos, and like if there was a pop-up thought out of your head, it's like, did she wash her hands? How far are we going to walk? How much longer is she going to be talking?
Yeah. Working with celebrities on and off over the years, because I did some talk shows after that, and it's always been really intriguing to me for these household names to be people. And I think we have to remember that as we're doing events or we have people who are speaking on our stages and are these big names, and we treat them differently because they're a big name. And I'd love everyone listening to really think of them as just another speaker, just another mom, just another dad, just another person or partner or just person that is here to help you get to a goal. I think a lot of times I've seen a lot of like, I'm so grateful you're here. Or even on interviews, like, I'm so grateful to be here. Like, no one effing cares, and no one's going to respect you if you act like that.
Agreed. And I think in the world today, we're doing a ton of conversations about influencers and leveraging them at events, and the concept of these like micro niche influencers. And they actually have a lot more pull than someone who has 3 or 4 million followers who just charged you well into the 6, sometimes 7 figures to be on their stage. Like, how much is that actually helping your event or your business when there might be someone a little smaller, more niche that actually gains a lot from the experience and gives you a lot from the experience as well?
Yeah, I've seen that a lot working with those people. Those are my advisory clients. It's so interesting because you always think that this big name is going to get you to this level, and it's never. It is the next person down because it's their engaged audience. They want to be in the room. Like we're talking about Amanda Francis. She does have an event coming up in June in New York. I'm trying to get a ticket. I want to be in that room because I want to see her.
Yeah.
Right. If she wasn't on Housewives, that wouldn't happen. But these micro niche people who can bring you 100 participants. Those bigger people with those names, it's not the same engagement. They don't feel like they know them. They don't feel like they can have access to them. So I'd love for people to give those people underneath, because I have this philosophy. In the digital business, I call it the lady gang, right? There's all those tall blonde girls.
Yeah, they all look the same.
They all look the same. And they're all very nice. There's nothing personal. But when you was pitching shows or when I'm talking to studios, they would always ask me about those people. And my response is always like, those people built their business 15 years ago, 10 years ago, and they're a name. But there are so many other people who haven't reached that level of famous in digital that have deeper connections, that have a enriched environment where their people really show up for them. There's a difference between being known and being famous. So I would like to find a way, and I actually have been having this conversation with my friends, like, how do we create the next girl gang? How do we create that next level? I think it's conferences and stages. I think you're putting these 4 girls together rather than these 4 girls together. And not because they don't have something to give, but there's just other people who need a turn.
Well, and I think to your point of being known, it's so relatable. Like so many of these like celebrities or famous people, it's unattainable. And like you said, the access, and you don't feel like they're approachable. You don't want to, like, I want to see a speaker when I go to a conference that's actually has lived the experience and knows and is accessible to me, that I would want to like, hey, let's go get a drink. Obviously that's not happening, but like in my mind, I'm like, could I get a coffee with this person? And a 15-minute meeting turns into an hour and a half because they're relatable and approachable. And I think so many speakers, especially at events, get lost. And I commend, people like Amanda Francis who are leaning into events. So many people are like, oh, I'm known now, so I'm going to do an event. And then they have to actually produce an event and they realize how effing hard our jobs are. So like, that's a whole other conversation for another day. But like, to your point, we've been talking about community, and it builds that community and approachable, and you actually want to learn and not just listen of what they have to say.
Right. And they have an audience who's engaged with them on a soul level, not on a famous level. I think it was in Miracle Hour by Kelly Roach, her new book. I think she writes something to the effect of like 9-figure business owners do the foundation that 6-figure business owners think they're too advanced to do. It's the same thing.
Yes. Well, we're going to leave it right there because that's a great way to end this segment. And that's all the time we have for today's episode of Event About It, where we connect events and marketing and prove that live experiences aren't just logistics. They're a growth engine. If this episode made you think differently about how events drive pipeline, brand, or growth, make sure you're subscribed. That's how you'll catch what's coming up next, including the Event About It after show, where Beth and I dig deeper into what real media strategy for your event actually look like, why BravoCon might be the blueprint for your conference team, and the thing nobody inside this industry has the guts to say out loud. If you've got an event or a story or a moment from the field that deserves to be unpacked, you can submit it at eventaboutitpodcast.com. Until next time, keep growing, keep laughing, and keep eventing about it.